Good morning, everyone. This is Mike O'Malley here with the Hurricane Outlook and discussion for August 30th, 2022, around 9 a.m. Eastern Time. We have a lot to talk about today, including multiple tropical cyclone threats in the Atlantic Basin over the next several days. We got a storm alert out there, so what do you need to prepare for? Let's go and jump straight into everything. Taking a weather across the tropical Atlantic this morning, we noticed that right now we are now down to two areas to watch in the tropical Atlantic. Right now we have Invest Area 91L. This is the main topic of concern for today's video. And then we also have a tropical disturbance moving off the coast of Africa today, which chances have been increased on that. If we actually look here at the tropical weather outlook from this morning, we notice that, again, here's Invest Area 91L. This is expected to be moving towards the northwest over the next several days. And in this system back here, which will likely become Invest Area 93L as it moves towards the northwest over the next several days. And this could also try to become a tropical cyclone as it moves into portions of the eastern Atlantic over the next 5 to 6 days. If we take a look here at the visible satellite imagery associated with Invest Area 91L this morning, we notice that we actually do have more of a concentrated area of convection, shower and thunderstorm activity located around 15 degrees north here. And this is where we could be dealing with a cyclone trying to form. Now, I did talk about how yesterday there is this curious lobe to the southwest here, this lobe of convection to the southwest has been persisting for several days, and there has been lower pressures in this area, but it is to be determined whether or not this area is able to impact this area at all. However, this area will likely become the dominant focal point for tropical formation and will be moving towards the northwest over the next several days, and it seems like it will comfortably miss the Leeward Islands as of this point. If we take a look here at the reconnaissance aircraft that has been in there this morning, we've noticed that, again, the aircraft reconnaissance mission is doing an upper level recon or kind of a mid-level recon sampling here. However, we noticed that in the upper and middle part, the upper part of the atmosphere, the middle and upper part, we do have some pretty dry air around right now. We noticed that from about, say, about 600 millibars going upwards, we have this drying aloft. And that's not necessarily really a good thing because this isn't actually in the center of circulation. So there is some dry air aloft. We notice that at 500 millibars, the relative humidity is only 23%, and that is not really very favorable for tropical formation. However, we notice that the surface pressures here have fallen significantly. We're at 1,008 millibars here at the surface with an east wind of 20 knots, and that is going to suggest that we actually do have the potential for surface pressures to be around 1,006 to 1,007 millibars. And we can see here, again, this is another one closer to where a supposed circulation would be. We have 1,008 with west wind at 9. So we could be dealing with about surface pressures of around 1,007 to 1,008 millibars. But we notice how dry it is aloft. And that is not really conducive. We also notice that in the lower part of the atmosphere, we have westerly winds. And then this is reversing to almost northwesterly or northeasterly winds, rather, aloft. And this is indicating that we still have the presence of vertical shear. And as long as that's the case, this isn't really going to have an opportunity to get very strong. If we take a look at how this evolution might work out, this is the HWAR forecast, the 060 ground value for 8 a.m. this morning. We're looking at the mid-level humidity here, the relative humidity and the amount of moisture in the atmosphere. We notice here's this upper level low right now responsible for inducing all of this vertical shear and responsible for pushing this dry air into the system. We notice how, again, on the HWRF, there is two lobes of convection here. We notice that, again, the more moisture to the south, and then we also have this area of convection to the northeast of that south system. And we notice that, again, the main system to watch will be this area right in here. Now, we notice over the next several days, again, the moisture field doesn't really do too much. However, we do see that it tries to break off from the southern lobe here, and this is where development chances will start to try to increase because we notice that this northern lobe is getting slungshot around and it is now trying to fill in this dry air to its west. So at least for the next several days, this dry air is going to have a problem. But eventually here on the H4 forecast by about day 5, we start to get this moisture that is kind of trying to develop around the system. However, we notice that, again, it's not really that successful. And a large part of that, if we jump up to the 200 millibar wind here, a large part of that is actually there's an upper level low sitting out here And this upper level low is actually responsible for creating a little bit of shear as this begins to move towards the northwest. And this will be one of the hindering factors, allowing for significant intensification. This will kind of hinder that, at least for the time being. And also, this is a little bit displaced from the upper level anticyclone, so it is going to be suffering from 2 rounds of shear in this instance. Now, if we take a look at how this evolution plays out on the HMON forecast, we actually do have a stronger storm here on the HMON. And in fact, if we look here at the position, this is about 2337 north. And if we jump back to what the HWRF is at, this is at about 23 flat on. So it is, the HWRF is a little bit further to the south than what the HMON is forecasting. Now, when we talk about the track forecast here, this is going to become quite complicated. We're going to talk about the future track and intensity here of 91L. Now, at least for the next several days here, this is looking at the ECMWF, the European 500 millibar geopotential height anomalies here. So we're looking at about 18,400 feet in the atmosphere. And we notice that right now, again, we do have this trough that is scooting towards the east, and that's going to be eroding this ridge to the north. Our storm is trying to gain some latitude, and will be gaining latitude over the next several days, thanks in part because we have all of this weakness in the subtropical ridge here. Now, eventually, over the next several days, our storm pinches off and drifts drastically towards the northwest here because again, this is pinching off on the north, and with this weakness in the subtropics, it's going to allow this to drift further north. But eventually, again, this ridge starts to build back in, and then we get a upper level low that's positioned over the Caribbean, and this will actually try to pivot our system westward at least for about a couple of hours to about a day or so. So we notice this actually does drift westward a little bit and does end up a couple hundred miles to the northeast of the Turks and Caicos at this point. However, then there's this trough right here that is going to try to pick this up and carry it around the ridge to the northeast and away from land. And in fact, that's exactly what happens here. However, this eventually phases in the long term with another upper level low here and gets quite close to Bermuda by about the 8th of September. Now, this is certainly a possibility, and if we actually look at the ensemble EPS here, and we actually take a look here at the ensemble mean sea level pressure, we'll kind of go down into the Western Atlantic sector. We notice that there is still some clusters here of possibilities. We notice by the 8th of September, we do have a wide range of potentials from a storm that is to the southeast of Bermuda to a storm that is actually near the Bahamas at this point. So there is still a wide range of possibilities. However, again, I am a little bit more inclined based on some of the model trends today and over the course of yesterday. We could be dealing with a storm that tries to kind of take this road here away from land and could turn very sharply as it catches that trough. So we'll have to see how that kind of pans out. The overall intensity forecast on the European has come significantly further down. However, the GFS forecast here is still predicting this to be a very potent hurricane as it approaches Bermuda. So either way, there is still a threat for a hurricane impact to portions of Bermuda. However, it is still a little bit too early to determine what, if any, impacts will occur to the island or, to Bermuda Island. And of course, it is still early to rule out the possibility that we may have impacts downstream in portions of the Turks and Caicos and Bahamas, potentially Florida. So it is too early to rule that out. However, it is starting to diminish at this particular time. So we take a look at the threat areas for portions of the Leeward Islands, Puerto Rico, Hispaniola, and portions of the Turks and Caicos. There is no threat area that is discernible at this time. Too much uncertainty, and given the trends, I am not significantly inclined to include any area of disturbance at this time, or any elevated area for that matter. So at this point, no threat. Go continue on with life as usual. However, continue to monitor the progress of the system. Now, focusing real quickly on the rest of the tropics, again, we do still have another system that will be coming off the coast of Africa over the next few days. Here's the GFS forecast evolution for this system. This tries to go on to become a tropical cyclone, and in fact does within the next 5 days. However, it doesn't really get too strong, and it starts to get carried too far to the north here. Again, a weakness in the subtropical ridge, mainly created here in part because of 91L, will make this system easily turn out to sea, and this is kind of shown even on the European forecast as well. The European doesn't really enjoy having this system being very strong. again, both of these systems seem like it will struggle at least for the next few days. All right. So that being said, I do hope you have a great rest of your afternoon and evening. Of course, I am Mike Romali, and I'll be talking to you guys again some more tomorrow.